What's up, everybody? This is Dan Thompson for AroundTheAssociation.com, and this is your Association podcast. This is part 2 of the NCAA tournament preview set a group of podcast. With the NCAA tournament starting on Thursday night, there's going to be an individual set of 5 podcasts that's going to talk about each of the entire regions of the NCAA tournament, as well as there'll be a fifth and final one, which we'll talk about the final 4 teams that I'm choosing. So with the brackets being, like I said, announced on Sunday, it's time to take a look at the South region. They are a group of teams in the South that are trying to get themselves to the Final Four, and really it's been headlined by the team who is at the top of the bracket, and we're going to start with them at the very top, which is the Virginia Cavaliers. UVA does draw the number 1 seed in this region, with the regional final being set in Louisville, with Virginia being the second best team in the country by the committee itself. They have them as the second highest number 1 seed, so they're going to end up going to Louisville. The regional final will be in Louisville, and like I said, Virginia, the top seed team. Virginia finished year 29-3. They are the ACC co-regular season champions with the University of North Carolina, who we talked about in the later podcast. Virginia finished year 29-3, and they had a disappointing end to the ACC tournament. They lost to Florida State, who, ironically, we'll talk about later as well, too. They just got outplayed by Florida State, just could not get around Florida State's length. Then UVA going into another tournament, a team that's very, very good defensively. We go back to the memories of last year. They were number 1 seed last year in Charlotte, and the unthinkable happened. Before the tournament, no number 1 seed team had ever lost in the NCAA tournament. UQ 18 up, and you saw what happened. UVA lost to UMBC in a terrible fashion. It wasn't even a close game. UMBC dominated Virginia, who couldn't figure out how to hit the ball anywhere near an ocean if standing next to it. And you got to that, and you just had the feeling of a number 1 loop going down in the tournament, and that's what happened last year. Unfortunately for Gardner-Webb, who is Virginia's opponent this year, lightning will not strike twice. Okay, number 1 seeds are 135-1 in this tournament, and I don't see going 2 coming in this column, even in this matchup. Listen, Virginia is a different team. Last year, DeAndre Hunter missed the NCAA tournament, who is an NBA lottery prospect and also is the ACC Defensive Player of the Year. He's actually healthy this year in the tournament. Ty Jerome is the catalyst at the point guard, 13 points a game. He's just a cold knockdown shooter. And you also have Kyle Guy, who was a first-team All-ACC performer. Virginia is loaded, okay? They know how to shoot the basketball. They're way better than they were before. Now, they don't, they're very, very good defensively, and they'll shut you down defensively. And Tony Bennett's team, there's a little bit more hunger last year after the embarrassment of last year. UVA is set to go deep in this tournament. Don't sleep on UVA. Remember, they're the only team to beat North Carolina this year. The only ACC loss they had, like I said, made beside Florida State. They lost to Duke in the ACC earlier this season. So with this team, you have to get by UMBC, but they are defense, and they hit a good number of shots behind the 3-point line. So Virginia is a team that is dangerous because of the fact they play defense, and now they have guys who can score the basketball. It was a little bit real interesting in the ACC tournament when guys get shut down, but Gardner-Webb in the opening round should not provide them any much of a fight. Now, speaking of Gardner-Webb, Gardner-Webb is a 16 seed. They were 23-11. They ended up winning their conference tournament on the road. You got to give them so much credit for actually going on the road in these kind of conference tournament situations where you got to win on the road. They won the conference tournament, and just in a great fashion. They go on the road to win it in a hostile environment. On a Saturday afternoon after playing a game on the road 36 hours previous to that. David Effiani leads the team at over 18 points a game. They have solid scores. DJ Lester scored 32 points. Was 2 points away from setting the championship game record, and he was just destroying. He had a humongous first half. He finished with 32 in that game, but let's be honest, Gardner-Webb just doesn't have enough athletes, and UVA is loaded. And even though Gardner-Webb has beaten ACC teams like Georgia Tech and Wake Forest in the regular season, they're not taking down a third ACC team. So Gardner-Webb, enjoy the trip. It's not a far trip for you guys. I think they're going down to Columbia to play Virginia. So it'll be a nice little quick trip. It'll be a quick exit as you head right back up the road, up 85 or 95, back up to up to 85, I'm sorry, up 77 back up to Gardner Webb. So it will be a quick visit for Gardner Webb in the tournament. UVA should advance with no problem. 8-9 matchup. You have Mississippi going against Oklahoma. Oklahoma is not the same team as it was last year. Of course, Trae Young is gone. This team is led by Christian John at 14 points a game. But really, what this team has had a problem with this season, they're struggling to score. Unlike having a guy like Trae Young who's able to score the basketball, this team does not score as efficiently as it did last year. They struggle to beat teams. Now, mind you, this year, they have beaten Kansas. You know, they beat Kansas early this season. They also beat Wofford. They beat some solid teams throughout the year, but the inconsistencies in scoring led to a 19-13 record, which means they had to win games down the stretch just to solidify the spot. But one thing with Oklahoma is that they do have a pretty good bit of depth because they have 8 guys that play over 18 minutes a game. But like I said, the struggling issues could be a problem as you take on a team like Mississippi. They were 20-12 in the 20-12 this year, finished 6th in the SEC in the regular season. They are a team that can get up and down the court. They have very solid scores on both sides of the basketball. But the one thing about Mississippi this tournament is that they only average 14 assists a game, but they also have 12 turnovers a game. So the turnover ratio is not very good. It's this turnover ratio. They turn the ball over a lot, especially for a team that does not have that much ball movement. But they beat Auburn twice in the regular season, but drawback, they are 2-5 in their last 7 games. This could be one of those stylistic, ugly games that you're going to find in the first round. Somebody's got to win it. It's really difficult to pick that winner. I'll give you my draw winners in a few minutes. It was just so easy to pick Virginia in the first place. But just don't be surprised if Mississippi can somehow find ways to get around and score the basketball. But like I say, when you just struggle in the last 7 games and just didn't look good in the SEC tournament, it doesn't bode well for a long-term tournament run. Bottom part of the upper part of the bracket, you have Wisconsin and Oregon in the 5-12 matchup. Let's be honest, when the season started, Oregon, no one thought Oregon was a 12 seed. Oregon was supposed to be one of these teams that was a top 25 team. You had Bowl, and the first 9 games, Bowl looked like a legitimate top 5 pick. I think he was averaging 21-9 before he went down with the foot injury for the rest of the season. Oregon played in the Pac-12, which is probably arguably the worst of the Power 6 conferences in college basketball this year. Don't let the fact that 3 teams made the tournament fool you. This conference was not good at all this year. They finished here 23-12. Lewis King is starting to come on of late, 12 points and 5.5 assists a game. I'll talk about Lewis King in the beginning of the season as a potential NBA lottery pick. It's kind of calmed down a bit because, Lewis has been a little inconsistent at times, showing a lot of the freshmen this. But let's say this. Oregon, like Oklahoma that we just talked about a second ago, they have a lot of guys who play a lot of minutes. So when you get a guy, you have a good group of depth. Oregon's one of those teams. Remember, they won the Pac-12. They're a team that they did very well in the Pac-12. It's just that they're not the same team in that bowl, but they've had enough games without them to really feel the loss. And like I said, Oregon's a dangerous 12 because they actually are a team that was literally a top 25 team in preseason. They're going against Wisconsin. And it seems like every year Wisconsin's just one of these teams that just gets in the tournament and just causes all type of damage throughout the tournament. 23-10, they finished 4th in the Big Ten this year. Ethan Happ has just been phenomenal all year long. The 6'10 senior, 17 points, 10 rebounds a game. I think almost 4.6 assists a game. He was first team all Big Ten this year. He knows how to get it done. They're the Big Ten's best defensive team. Go figure. They do this almost every single year. But here's the problem. They are one of those teams that struggle to score points as well too. They know how to win games. Like I said, Ethan Happ is one of the best players in the country. It was his 3rd straight year in the big. I think his 3rd straight year on the all Big Ten team is how good he's really been. But you have to figure out how to win these games. And Wisconsin has struggled to beat teams they're supposed to win, especially games and down the stretch. This stylistic matchup, Oregon likes to run a little bit. Dana Altman's team is really, really good on the run. Wisconsin's really, really good defensively. So it's going to be one of those matchups that stylistically, it's going to be it's like the rubber meets the road. Somebody's going to have to pass in this matchup. And it just seemed like one of those intriguing first round matchups. The other part of that bracket is Kansas State going against UC Irvine. UC Irvine is one of the hottest teams in the country. Literally, they have been their last loss was back on January 16th. They've won 16 games in a row. Max Hazard is a big time scorer. They hit They hit a lot of 3-pointers, and I guess usually Irvine, they know how to win. Like I said, the Big West regular season and conference tournament champions. The Anteaters are one of those teams. If you're thinking about a sleeper team to get out of the first round, it's this one, because they're drawing a matchup in Kansas State, where Kansas State is a Jekyll and Hyde team at 25-8. They're the co-Big 12 regular season champions. There are two separate teams. If Dean Wade's in the lineup, Kansas State is a Sweet 16 team. If he's not in the lineup, the Anteaters can literally eliminate Kansas State. Nothing against the rest of the guys in the roster. Barry Brown Jr. is really good. But even though Kansas State made the Elite Eight last year, the problem with Kansas State is that if Dean Wade's not in the lineup, Dean Wade changes everything. Wade, I think, right around 12 points and 6 rebounds a game. He's just they make this team completely different when Wade's in the lineup. Wade has missed his share of time. If he comes back, I think he missed some time in the Big 12 tournament. If he's healthy, they've had some time to rest him. Kansas State could be a sleeper Sweet 16 team. If not, UC Irvine, it could be on that 13 line to eliminate Kansas State in the first part of the bracket. Let's switch down to the bottom part of the bracket, and we talk about the other 8 teams in the bottom part of the bracket. Let's start with the defending national champions. That would be the Villanova Wildcats. Yes, normally you start with a 2 seed, but when you have the defending national champions in a potential dangerous matchup, you got to talk about them. Villanova is the defending national champions. They won the Big East tournament championship. They're 25-9, and Jay Wright has had a phenomenal coaching job. Even though they're defending national champions, they lost 3 first-round picks. And really, Phil Booth has actually stepped his game up right around 19 points a game. Eric Paschal around, I think, almost 17 points a game. Jay Wright's got to the national championship. He won 2 of the last 3 national championships. So you really don't want to count Villanova. But the problem with Villanova is that they're taking on a team in St. Mary's who did go 22-11. But if you go back and watch that West Coast Conference championship game and what they did to Gonzaga, this could happen again in the first round of the tournament. They dominate Gonzaga the entire game. They also lost a couple of games they shouldn't have lost. They had a chance to beat Mississippi State earlier this season, and they had LSU on the ropes. Jordan Ford is a big-time scorer, over 21 points a game. Let me tell you this now. St. Mary's is a dangerous team in this tournament. I'm not sure about Villanova at this point. Yes, Villanova has caught fire at the right time, but the NCAA tournament's all about how you play in these games. And remember, Villanova at one point was struggling to win games. Yeah, they got hot at the right time. You got 2 teams who got hot at the right time. Which team is actually going to cool off? Now let's go to the highest seed in the region, and this is the Tennessee Volunteers. I know I mentioned Villanova at the start, but Tennessee is the second overall seed in this bracket, and they'll take on Colgate. I don't expect Colgate to do much in this game. They're not going to whiten Virginia very much, but Colgate, 24-10, they won the Patriot League championship. They're one of the better 3-point shooting teams in the league, and they have 5 guys that hit over 36% from downtown. But this Tennessee team is really, really good. 29-5, lost in the SEC semifinals to Kentucky. It cost them a number 1 seed in the NCAA tournament. They're a top 2 or 3 team all season long before going into it. Grant Williams is a 2-time and back-to-back SEC Player of the Year, and he's returning. Admiral Schofield, one of my favorite names in college basketball, is on the wing. He was also all SEC as well, too. Jordan Bone in the backcourt. This Tennessee team has beaten Louisville. They beat Gonzaga. They beat Kentucky twice. This could be a Final Four run for this squad. This team, who is very extremely talented. They have 5 guys that just do so many different things. Tennessee's extremely talented. Colgate's not going to be much in the first round. But when I say Tennessee can get to the Final Four, they can actually get to the Final Four. The 3-14 matchup in the brackets, Purdue and Old Dominion. Purdue is one of these teams that, as you'll learn with some of these teams in this tournament, they have 1 big-time scorer, and if that scorer is not scoring, the team's in trouble. Purdue is one of them. Carson Edwards is a one of the best 5 or 6 players in the country, a humongous scorer, over 23 points a game. I think he's a Wooden Award candidate finalist. But Purdue, when they lose these games, when Carson Edwards seems to struggle. Remember, Purdue has lost twice in the last 10 days to Michigan, who was number 2 seed. And they've also lost 7 or 9 losses this year have been the tournament teams. Carson Edwards has struggled in some of those games. If Edwards struggles, Purdue can get eliminated very easily. They got guys who can score, but none on the level of Carson Edwards. Look at Old Dominion. Old Dominion was 26-8. They took care of business in Conference USA. They were a solid 3-guard attack. And with them, even with the 3 guards, and they all score they start very well. They do a lot of different things. Old Dominion struggles from the free throw line. In the tournament, you gotta be able to hit free throws. They hit 64% as a team. If this game gets close, Purdue, if they're down, they can foul Old Dominion and get themselves back in the game because ODU cannot hit free throws. 7-10 matchup, Cincinnati versus Iowa. Once again, one of these games that is just different on paper. Iowa was a team that could have had a higher seed, but here's the problem: they lost two of their last 8 games. We lost 6 of the last 8. You want to make it that way, make it easier to sound. They have won a couple games in the last second, but the problem has been their defense has not been as good as they should have been. They ranked 13 out of 14 teams in the Big Ten in defense during the season. That's not very good because also the problem is when you don't play good defense against a team that does play good defense, it could be a problem. Cincinnati, on the other hand, was 28-6. They won the American Conference Tournament Championship. They beat Houston, who's a 3 in another bracket, cost them potential number 2 seed. Houston and Cincinnati knows how to win games. They've also, besides beating Houston, they've beaten UCF. They've beaten Ole Miss in the regular season. Jaron Cumberland, who takes up his game a lot after Sean Kilpatrick, is a Sean Kilpatrick type of player. This defense is a top 30 defense. And if you go back to that Houston game, they dominated Houston the entire game. Cincinnati, kind of like other teams this tournament, can cause damage in this tournament. So, I'll kind of give you a preview of all 8 matchups. Now, who do I have going? I've kind of give you some of my picks of who's going to go where, but let me give you all my picks in game-by-game order. Like I said, Virginia Gardner-Webb will start at the very top of this. This is not going to be a pretty game. UVA just out-defensive Gardner-Webb. Gardner-Webb will make this game good till halftime. UVA should wear them out in the second half. This could be a 20-point game easily. Mississippi, Oklahoma, like I told you, stylistic class. Oklahoma struggles to score. Mississippi turns the ball over too much. Who wins? I like Ole Miss because of the fact of, hey, they won 20 games this season. They also swept Auburn. And when you have a team that can do different things, and in the case of Mississippi, it's just something about Mississippi in this tournament that makes things a little interesting. On top of that, Mississippi has the best score on both teams. You have Bryn Tyree, who does average 18 points a game, and we have him scoring the basketball. It makes things a lot easier. I think they get past Oklahoma to get to the second round. UVA, Mississippi, once again, you have a defensive matchup. Tyree is going to go against DeAndre Hunter. Hunter will shut him down defensively. You'll see a lot of Kyle Guy showing why he's a first-team All-ACC. Ty Jerome is also going to make some plays. UVA will make a lot of ball switches, a lot of passing. They'll beat Mississippi because guess what? If you turn the ball over against a Tony Bennett team, Tony Bennett will put you in his team, will put you away faster than anybody in the country. I like UVA to get to the Sweet 16. Now, who's going to play them in the Sweet 16? Let's start in that part of the bracket. Wisconsin taking on Oregon. Like I said, it's a stylistic matchup and a stylistic nightmare matchup for Oregon. Even though Oregon can get up and down the court, Wisconsin in the tournament is always dangerous because of the fact of, guess what? They play defense. Ethan Happ will go into the interior and they'll just wear down Oregon. Even though Oregon has the athletes, Wisconsin's a little bit more physical. Give me the Badgers in this one. Kansas State, UC Irvine. I said earlier, if Dean Wade is not in the lineup, this is a game. Give me the Anteaters. Dean Wade's injury, his foot injury is more, I think it might be a little bit more serious than everybody's letting on. Even if he's at 100%, even if he's able to go, I don't know if he's 100%. I like the fact UC Irvine's won 16 games in a row. They have good shooting on the floor. Max Hazard and company will find ways to hit threes. And anytime you hit 40% as a team from the 3-point line, from a smaller school, somehow magic happens in March. Give me the Anteaters. Wisconsin versus UC Irvine in the second round. Like I said, stylistic clash. Wisconsin will shut down these shooters. There's a reason why they're the best defensive team in the Big Ten. It's going to get ugly. They're going to uglify the game. Wisconsin gets to the Sweet 16 to take on Virginia. I'll get to the Sweet 16 in a second. Villanova, St. Mary's. I told you from the very beginning, St. Mary's is a dangerous matchup for Villanova, only because of the fact of St. Mary's, after what I saw against Gonzaga, it seems like a lot of this could happen a second time. Jay Wright might have this team going at their all cylinders. St. Mary's is so good in the tournament. I like this matchup for St. Mary's, but give me Jay Wright and Villanova only because of the fact that Jay Wright's been in the Final Four 2 of the last 3 years. But it would not shock me if St. Mary's eliminated Villanova in round one. Purdue ODU, once again, you have a top flight scorer going against a team that knows how to shoot the basketball. ODU struggles with the free throw line, and it's going to be the Achilles heel. Give me Purdue to get to the next round. Purdue taking on Villanova in the second round. This is the type of team that, once again, Purdue will not do well against. Why? Villanova is athletic. And if they can somehow rattle Carson Edwards, then Villanova gets to the Sweet 16. Give me the Wildcats in the Sweet 16. I don't think they go past the Sweet 16, but they'll get to the Sweet 16. Cincinnati, Iowa. I told you once before, Iowa's defense isn't that good. They've been getting scored on a regular basis. They won games. They've been getting scored on. But if the game is close, Iowa has won 3 games by 2 points or less this season. That's a good thing for Iowa fans. Cincinnati is an ugly team. They win ugly, they play ugly, and it's just the Cincinnati way because they're defensive-minded and Jaron Cumberland knows how to score the basketball. When you beat teams like UCF, you beat teams like Ole Miss, you beat teams like Houston, I like the matchup. Give me Cincinnati over Iowa. Tennessee, Colgate. Listen, the only way Colgate wins is if they start brushing teeth in this game. Tennessee will obliterate Colgate in the first round. There's just too much athleticism from Tennessee, and Tennessee's on a mission. They played so well to get to the SEC semifinals, and it deflated. It's just a situation where they beat Kentucky. They had everything going for them. Got deflated by Auburn in an embarrassing fashion in the conference tournament championship game. This is the wake-up call that Tennessee needed to get themselves back to where they were. They'll go ahead and obliterate Colgate. Then they'll also beat Cincinnati in an ugly basketball game. Cincinnati will try to uglify it, but Tennessee's too athletic. Tennessee gets to the Sweet 16. So we're talking about the Sweet 16 matchup to start from the very top. I have UVA taking on, in the Sweet 16, they'll be taking on the Wisconsin Badgers. An ugly defensive game is going to come out of that one. I'm saying if you like defense, this is the game to watch. Give me UVA because they have more shooters than Wisconsin. UVA gets to the Elite Eight. On the other side of the bracket, you have Villanova and Tennessee, 2 teams that are ranked with the top 12 when the season started. Tennessee is on a mission. Mission will continue. Villanova will not repeat. This is how far they go. They'd be lucky to even get this far. Give me Tennessee to get to the Elite Eight. On top of that, now you have Virginia, Tennessee. Remember what I said before. Tennessee's on a mission to get to the Final Four. Tony Bennett is trying to change everything that we saw last year. I like Tennessee in this game. Reason why, Admiral Schofield is going to be the difference. Whoever DeAndre Hunter has to guard is not going to be as effective, but Schofield's a different type of guy. He's 6'5", he's extremely athletic, and he's a big guy, big body guy. I like him, and I also like what Grant Williams is going to do to the interior of the UVA defense. They're going to get the ball into the interior, and then guys like Jordan Bone are going to hit shots. Give me Tennessee to get to the Final Four. So, to recap, I'm taking Tennessee to get to the Final Four in the region. A couple names you want to watch. So if you're looking at games individually or players you want to watch, I mentioned Carson Edwards at Purdue is a big-time scorer, 23.5 points a game. He is arguably one of the 5 best players in college basketball that's not literally playing in Durham for the Duke Blue Devils in the NCAA tournament or any of the number 1 seeds. I love Carson Edwards' game. But remember, if he goes, Purdue goes in this tournament as well, too. Jaron Cumberland of Cincinnati is just one of these guys that we've seen so many years over Cincinnati. Your Sean Kilpatrick-type players. Big, strong, physical, and just plays hard all over the floor. You'll love his game if you've never seen him before. He's an extremely talented player on the floor. Also, if you want to talk about teams that are not well known, like I mentioned before, Max Hazard at UC Irvine is a big time shooter from deep, leads that 3-point barrage for UC Irvine. Like I said, big time shooters in tournaments do well. I like his game. If you've never seen him before, and one more guy to watch in the tournament, Bryce Tyree of Mississippi. He is a first team all SEC guy, 6'2", can put the ball in the basket, right? Average around 18 points a game. A little more 18 points a game. He's a guy that can fill it up really big for Mississippi. Like I said, Mississippi could only get ousted in round one if they turn the ball over too much against Oklahoma. I think they'll do it against Virginia. I think they won't make as many turnovers to it. So tell me what you think. So 2 brackets are down. We have 2 more to go. I want you guys to follow me on Facebook and Twitter at Dang3 Thompson, DANNY #3 Thompson on Twitter. Follow RoundTheAssociation.com. Follow the Round the Association Facebook page as well too. Pass the podcast on. We're also doing the tournament challenge bracket, like I mentioned before. The rules will be on the Facebook page sometime on Tuesday, and how to enter and how to win. Hey, look, is a Walmart gift card waiting for you at the end of the tournament bracket. The question is, can you outpick me in the tournament? Let's find out. I'll catch you guys later for RoundTheAssociation.com. This is Danny Thompson. Peace.